Well, here we are, and I'm just excited. I don't know how excited you are, but I didn't get all my question answered, but I got a bunch of them answered, and pretty much, pretty good, right? What did you think?
Well, Randy, you are the eternal optimist, right? I think you and I tend to be on the same wavelength on most topics.
Yeah.
I don't think on this one. So, but maybe you'll change my mind.
All right. Okay.
I thought that was an awful earnings call. I was honestly embarrassed for them in many respects. Um, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Actually, I do know where to start. The way that ended with Lars and the CFO fumbling around the question was just embarrassing to me. It's like either don't give product updates on the call or answer the damn question, but don't sit there like with your tail between your legs. I don't know. I just thought it was embarrassing. Um, and just some of the rhetoric about how they plan on rolling out FSD, I thought was very light. Like, you're coming on to an earnings call.
Right.
People are going to have these questions.
Right.
They're very obvious questions.
Right.
Yet,
And they're published.
you, yeah, yet you act like, oh, what a weird question. Like, at some point, they should be very clear. We're going to have X amount of vehicles. We're going to launch on this date. We're going to take it slow. Well, our plan is to maybe add vehicles, X amount of vehicles a day, whatever. Or we're going to charge. Are we not going to charge? Are we going to gate how many people are allowed to use it at first or not? Right? Like, there's no, like, we're the shareholders. I just feel like there's a certain point where the onus is on you to tell us what's going on. Like, what's the roadmap to an extent? And it's not like I'm asking you to talk about something that you're doing privately in the background. Like, I'm not, like, you're choosing not to show us things about Optimus. Okay, so I'm not asking for that. But when you're out there telling us you're going to launch and whatever, like, okay, well then you're telling me information that stands the reason that we would ask questions, especially when you're telling us this is a launch date. I don't know. It just felt very amateur hour.
Well, okay. So I would say that it always does to me. Their productions, their launches, their battery days, and everything else is all amateur hour. It's almost as if Elon has a feeling about all of them that they should be like podcasts with Rogan, rather than New York City, Google-esque or General Motors-esque kinds of calls or productions. Certainly not Apple-esque, kinds of productions.
But that's not what I'm asking for. Randy's like, is it a stripped down Model Y3 or is it a new vehicle? You've talked about it on your earnings deck. You keep talking about it. You keep saying new vehicles. Like, just what is it? Just this is not a hard question. It's a very simple question.
And so what? So which is it?
Exactly.
I think that argument will continue to be made in X for the next couple of weeks. My final conclusion was that it will have something different in the metal, or it might be like Brian Wong thinks that it might be using some plastic parts. Maybe not all of them, maybe not the doors, but maybe the hood or something. But I think it will be distinguishable from the outside as a not a Model 3, not a Model Y, but will not be a hatchback. I think that's the problem is how do you describe that? I guess the way I just did.
Yeah. Well, but that then you would define that as a new vehicle, right? Like, I would say, I mean, then that's a new vehicle. Then say that. Like,
Right.
it will be a new vehicle.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
that's my take. Other people's take is no, it's just going to be the Mexico version.
Well, that's the other question, right? It's like if I mean, I think that's bad if that's all they do is just put cloth seats in and I don't know what else they would do. One motor, less batteries.
Less expensive
It's
tires, right? Wheels, the whole nine yards. So, okay, so what was interesting to me was the stock action. So some people are saying, well, it's up 10, it was up 14 for a minute, now it's up 10. But basically, it was just following the market again today. It's been following the market for the last five trading sessions, and it followed the market in the after hours or pre-market, whatever you want to call it, almost exactly.
the only reason the stock is up is because of Trump.
I think it's a Trump, right?
That's the only reason. No other reason. Go chart literally the second that he put out or we got the breaking news or whatever, and when the stock moved, Trump. That's it.
Right. But on the other side of the coin, it didn't go down or go up less than its beta. So therefore, I would call it flat. In other words, that the people who were buying Tesla in the after hours figured that the meeting was okay, neither great nor a disappointment.
And maybe we'll see tomorrow. I just I mean, what made you feel good about that call?
Well, the first thing that made me feel well, so I had my two, my big moment and my not so big moment. So I was very disappointed when he said that he thought they'd only be doing a million Optimi in 2029. I thought that's way under my expectations, and I don't think that's what he's been saying in the past. So I'll be very interested to see if that gets updated at any time soon, because he talked about 5,000 this year, 500,000 next year, 5 million the next year.
No, he talked about 10xing, right? So 5,000, then
50,000,
50,000,
50,000,
then
500.
500,000,
And then, yeah,
then yeah.
yeah, then 5 million, but that's not a million. So anyway, I was disappointed by that. But I was encouraged because he listened to Larry and I talking on Monday night, and he agreed with me that it's going to be over a million robotaxis on the road, generating revenue by the end of next year.
You know, honestly, listen to the call. I didn't have a lot of confidence in when he said that.
Oh, really? Because I thought he was I thought he felt very like that's what's going to happen.
I mean, it sounds like they're struggling a lot in Austin right now to get
Really?
robotaxi going.
Wow.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Huh.
Like they weren't like they were still issues, but they couldn't find enough you like they couldn't get enough intervention. Like it's good,
It's a good news,
kind of
bad.
like the whole thing. Yeah, it's good, but it's taken us so long to find the edge cases,
Yeah, yeah.
and it seems like they're struggling with that. And then the whole idea of starting with 20 vehicles, which is fine, I guess, but who's like, are you gonna have like five people using it with 20 vehicles?
Well, if you have 10 a day or whatever, that would be 200 a day. So I think he said what he also said was not that they would start with 10 or 20, they weren't sure, but they would be listening very carefully. They'd be, doing what they do, which is listening to the market. And if they needed another 100, they'd put them right out there. If they needed another 100 after that, they'd put them right out there. Because again, how hard is it for them to add to the fleet? That'll be the easiest thing in the world. Yeah.
Which is very hard, I think, is what
Oh,
they're saying.
oh, why?
Very hard.
Why would it be hard to add to the fleet?
Well, one, it seems like there's gonna be safety drivers.
No, 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 no. They said specifically not. The safety, the remote would only be for when the car gets stuck. Said very specifically.
Okay, see, that's what
Not
I
for
thought
driving.
they said, but Farzad and Matt just brainwashed me into
Uh,
thinking,
uh,
all right, I'll have to go back and listen to that.
no, that was very, very clear. He kind of said it twice. Only when the car gets stuck. It would not be for just as a like a remote driver. Contrasted it with others and said
Yeah,
only.
I'll have to listen to that again.
So no, they said they would. He said, and also Elon said very clearly, no, we'll add them as necessary as the market tells us they need more vehicles. We'll put them out there.
And then, but again, even starting with 20, it's like, okay, so clearly, no, Elon, people can't just fly down and use it because you only have 20.
He suggested, I think he didn't say it exactly the way I would have said it, but I think he suggested don't show up until the end of June.
So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It just, I wish they would have just been a little. I normally love the way they do calls.
Oh, okay.
What I don't like is one, don't come into a really bad earnings call, number wise, and have no energy. Like I'm sorry, like there's a certain point where you do have a responsibility. I think,
Yeah,
and normally I think Elon's really good about it.
yeah.
But he was sad. You could tell he was sad. Like I don't know if that was apparent to you, but like
I
he
didn't
seemed,
I didn't pick up on sad, but I would agree with you about low energy. It was not he was not his exuberant self. He was more,
yeah.
uh, a matter of fact. I would call it more matter of fact. And he even got a little irritated toward the end when it went, way over the hour. He was kind of being short with the answers. So that was not a good look.
Yeah. Um, but I just feel like when it's like that, and again, I think normally he's good about it, but you got to come on with some energy and optimism
Mhm,
because even if it's not for you, it should be for all the people who are listening, who are shareholders,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
the everyday person, the people who work in your factories that are shareholders.
Sure.
Like you're rallying the troops,
Mhm.
and I just feel like I don't know that last for that hour and a half. I don't think he did right by us, and not even just us, but even the employees that work there.
All right.
Um,
So what about some of the rest of the specifics? I thought, he started off by maybe answering the big elephant in the room question and that he's going to be back to work and in May and only spending 1 to 2 days a week in Washington, maybe for the next 4 years if Trump wants him to. But that basically, okay, I'm going to be back in town. You can count on that part. And, 5 days a week of his time is probably enough.
when he said that, that's when the stock hit the highest point in after
Right,
hours.
right, right.
And I'll tell you what, again, I've always been one to say, let the man handle his schedule the way he handles it. Like, who are we to say anything? But just hearing, and again, I don't have a script in front of me to be able to read it verbatim or anything, but hearing the way we heard a shock, Elon, and there's another person speaking that it wasn't Lars, but I don't know who it was. It sounds like there's problems in the right word, but there's challenges, a lot of challenges right now with getting this ready for June. I still think they'll do it. I still think they're going to launch one way or another, but that's clearly Elon needs to be there because that's where the problem is.
Hmm.
And I I think if he imagine we live in a whole different world, we didn't have election. We imagine we just had a Tesla world, right? No politics, no
Sure.
Trump, no Doge, none of that. I think this is where Tesla or Elon would have been the whole time trying to help with these problems
Yeah.
because
Mhm. Sure.
this, I think, where their current bottleneck is, and I think it's there. I think it's real. I think it's apparent. Um, so part of this call, again, normally I'm always thinking like let Elon do what he does. He knows how to manage his schedule. But this call was the first time I was out ever thinking, oh, it's apparent he hasn't been around.
Hmm.
It
So,
feels very apparent.
so my sense, I never got a sense that they weren't ready for June because they kept repeating it like, no, it's going to happen in June. So I never felt what you felt. That doesn't mean that you're not right. It just means I didn't feel that. What I did feel was that as much as they kept repeating the tariff thing impacts us less, that was also followed by, but it does have an impact. And so I'm thinking, and that they don't have an answer, just like everybody else. in the country, and the big objection, the big, everybody, Larry and Jeff and everybody else, all the co-hosts, you know, all are saying, gee, this could have been handled better. People are confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to run their factories. And I think that might have been the overhang, the tension way more than whether they're going to be ready for robotaxi launch.
Well, the robotaxi wasn't even listening to Elon. I was listening to a shock
Oh,
where he's talking about how they're trying to drive through. They have like a convoy of Teslas. They're even trying to use simulation. Like they're trying to find these
right.
edge cases to, yeah. And who knows, maybe this is just like one of those things where it's like, I'm overly cautious because it's the first time and we can't screw it up. Or is it they're realizing that this is going to be kind of a struggle with every city they try to roll out because there's going to be these very small itty bitty nuances
Mhm.
that they're going to have to account for. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because I drive FSD every day and it seems great to me.
Yeah.
Do I intervene? Yeah, I still have interventions here and there. Uh, Honestly, when I do, they're kind of like safety related, but they're stupid safety related. And I would chalk that up to more of like a bug or just like a stupid decision. Um, but it's very rare.
They're obviously on another level,
Yes,
call it FSD 14 or whatever you want to call it. That,
exactly.
that has even less of that. So yeah,
But I don't know. I just look. I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer here. I just we need we need execution, and it feels like we've been on this roadmap for a long time about talking and hyping. For example, we've been talking about a lower vehicle model for a long time. And if you're telling me it's just a stripped down 3 and Y, that's not executing.
so here's what Larry and I had our biggest
Oh, I watched and
uh,
I thought I was gonna come on today and tell you I listened to that interview
okay.
and I couldn't disagree with Larry more on everything
On everything. Okay.
until now.
Until now, until you watched Elon. All right, let's talk about the one that he and I had the most amount of disagreement on, and that was whether or not in 3 years, in 2028, Tesla will not be selling any cars to individuals.
That will not be true.
Okay, so I believe that in 2028, I believe it could happen sooner, but it is hard for me to imagine why Tesla would sell a vehicle that can be turned into a robotaxi if why would they sell that to an individual for their own use? Because there'll be so much demand for robotaxis that there'll be no reason to do that, and it'll be so much more valuable. And I thought that's kind of what Elon was hinting at when he talked about the exponential curve that's coming. And when you hit that exponential curve, they're not going to be able to make enough cars to fill the need.
Mm. Oh no, we'll see. I think we've spent so much time about talking about this and next year, and I mean 3 years ago, Randy, we probably would have been saying something very similar about in 3 years from now.
I think you're right, except that we actually are going to have robotaxi. So, so, so,
We
so,
probably would have been saying that too.
yeah. Let me back up though to what I'm thinking that Elon's thinking. Okay, it's like it doesn't really matter what we make in terms of cars. It doesn't matter whether we sell 3 million cars to private users or not, because ultimately it's going to be a robotaxi world. Um, as far as Tesla is concerned, that doesn't mean General Motors won't still be selling cars to individuals. It doesn't mean that other BEV makers, but if you don't have autonomy, you won't be making robotaxis, so you'll still have to try to sell to private users. But
But it does matter because every vehicle you sell is a potential robotaxi in the network.
right,
And the truth is, you're not going to have cyber cabs alone because those are only two seaters.
right,
So every vehicle you sell you get to not only make margin on the selling of the vehicle, but in the future, potentially robotaxi. And so it does matter every vehicle
So
they sell.
the more you sell, the more potential robotaxis are out there. I
Yeah.
agree with that. And if you want to keep them fresh, because even though they're going to be taxis, it still be good if they look good and look fresh, like something modern and
And
I'm interested in.
it's not even that, but it's just it reduces your cost of business because then you're not the one that has to float the vehicle costs.
Right.
And it, yeah, and it makes a lot more sense to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of individual people putting their own individual cars out there rather than hoping that you can have 6 or 7 huge fleet managers. Like it just makes more sense. It's and hence the Airbnb model.
This is not my vision. I believe in the Airbnb model, and I think there will be a percentage of people that will do Airbnb version. But I think most of the people that do Airbnb are going to end up with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles.
Yeah, I
Some
agree.
of those will end up with 10 and some will end up with 20. I don't think the normal uh, Airbnb thing will be me putting one car out. I don't think that's going to be the norm.
Mm. I could see where like a household has two. Well, anyways, we're not even there yet, though. That's my
Right.
point. So my point is, we've been we've been talking about these new revenue streams for so long,
Huh?
and we've seen these other revenue streams start to dry up on margins to the point where if we didn't have regulatory credits, we'd probably be in the negative this quarter.
There was an opposite on that, of course. So $400 million of R&D that was more than usual. So you could flip those two and you'd be back where you are.
It was $600,000 or 600 million regulatory credits.
Thought it was 400 million in regulatory.
600. It was 400 million in profits.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's no matter how you slice it, right? Uh, my point is, we're
Yeah. Yeah.
revenue's
Oh,
coming
no.
down, margins coming down.
It's
So we're not. You can't do anything about global situation. I get that,
right
but I would say we haven't been executing to the fullest.
on the
Um,
car models. So the energy has been executing. But the cars themselves, we haven't been doing a great job of increasing the unit sales each year.
I think there's a lot of areas we're not executing on. We're not executing on vehicle sales. I think we're not executing on FSD adoption.
Hmm.
Like it makes no sense to me why we're doing $99 a month when we could say, yeah, sure, $99 a month or 50 cents a mile. And maybe it makes more sense for you to pay the monthly price. Maybe it makes sense for you to pay the monthly, but at least you lower the bar to entry so more people are willing to try and adopt it.
So
And
based on my own experience, I think that I would have done exactly what they've done. I wouldn't have pushed it hard
why?
because it wasn't ready. It was ready for you, but it wasn't ready for me. So 2 years ago or a year ago, I would try it for
But
a trip and then
but
I'd
let's
stop using it. And then I wouldn't want to go back to it because I was
that's
disappointed because of the nag, because it didn't work all the time, because it would miss an exit, and so for the people that are taking on the new technology, it was working fine. But I don't want to have millions of people with a negative experience. And I'm sure they realize that we don't want millions of people to have this negative experience and have a hard time getting them back or start talking about the negative experience to their friends and neighbors.
that's a great argument if you want, but people are still going to try it regardless. And
Oh,
the
it's
truth
ready.
is,
Now it's ready.
but you're using a 2 year ago argument. So forget that. That's not relevant. The same way as you talk about 3 years from now is not relevant. What I'm saying is they're not executing now.
Now they should.
And regardless, they should go on a per mile charge. Just lower the bar to entry because even if you have a bad experience, guess what? Whenever a new release comes out, maybe it's only 50 cents for me to try this for a mile. Maybe I'm willing to try it this time. You know, maybe it sucks for 3 versions, but every time I try, I got a little better, but it's not that great. I tried again. And like, hey, it only cost me $5 here, $6 there, not a big deal. If it cost me $300 to try it 3 times, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is you lower the bar to entry,
Yeah.
and then you get more people, and then you can get more interventions. It just like I think there's a lot of stuff like that. And then also I think, you know, from an execution perspective, there's I think there is a moral imperative to start advertising about this. I really do. I think that it's borderline unethical that they're not advertising about it, even if it's capital inefficient with commercials and stuff.
Oh, I,
But
I think it will be capital efficient. It would work.
yeah, but I'm saying even if it's
Way to
not, I
do it.
think it's the morally the right thing to be promoting, to tell people, hey, you don't have to. And honestly, the people who would use this the most are older people, and they consume most of their stuff through the television. So I don't know. There's lots of areas I think we should be executing better on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So we agree on that one. I would like to see, definitely want to see that. Now, I did see one little Easter egg. Actually, I saw it, and then Dave Lee also talked about it, put up a post about it. And it appears Tesla is committed to expanding business model to include delivering autonomous robots across multiple form factors.
so yeah. So on that one, again, I'm gonna keep being the pessimist tonight, I guess.
Okay.
Look, we read into the change in the wording for the earnings call. We read into the castings that we saw for the Cybercab.
Yep.
We're reading to all these things, and then you throw something like that. I think that all they're saying is the multiple types. It's just the different vehicles. It's the vehicles and Optimus. That's it. I don't think.
No, 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 because they said why. They said because of the tariffs. I can't remember the exact language they used, but we've recognized that there's this opportunity is not what they said, but that's what I read into it. Do I have the language here actually? In response to the headwinds of trade policies is what got them thinking about these other form factors. And they've mentioned other form factors once before. So in the back of their mind, they've thought, gee, there's other ways to use embodied AI, in factories, in retail, whatever.
Yeah, maybe like the vacuum, sure, but I don't think it's gonna be something that they sell.
Oh, really? Okay, because this is it was it wasn't even in the call. It was in the actual report.
No,
Yeah.
well, so is new vehicles.
Yeah. Well, there's got to be new vehicles.
But apparently, we couldn't even make that. We couldn't even state that on the call.
All right.
I don't know.
So, all right, we'll see what happens. We know about let's see here. It's interesting that Tesla mentions these. Oh no, that's more of the same thing. Affordable, we did that. Robotaxi, energy. Okay, energy. The news there was multiple terawatt hours. So my goal has always been that the total number would be 1 terawatt hour of energy storage per year. Now he's talking about multiples. That's huge.
We'll see. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm skeptical. Like again, like until we start seeing some execution, it's hard for me to right now see any of these comments as true.
Mhm.
Like we need to get to a point where I actually see execution, and I haven't seen it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm not saying I was expecting to see something interesting on this call, but this call left me very discouraged.
I know, I know.
Uh,
We're gonna have to find a way to
uh,
pep you up, get you back on your Wheaties or something here.
we're supposed to have 20 million vehicles by 2030. We're supposed to have what 3 terawatt hours by 2030. All these different factories. I mean, just none of it. None of it's
I don't
And I
think.
get roadmap changes.
Yes, the roadmap changed on the 20 million vehicles, and it may still be 20 million vehicles, but it's going to be 8 million cybercabs and 2 million Model Ys. I mean, it's going to be a different.
We'll see. But I think June's going to be very
That
critical
didn't add
for
up.
the
That
business.
didn't add up to 20, did it?
No, it didn't. I
Okay,
think
16 million robotax. I mean, cybercabs and 4 million Ys.
June's going to be critical to execution.
Sure.
Can they actually execute? It doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but can they actually follow through? Can they execute? Will they actually look? The new vehicle is supposed to be on the first half of this year. That's June.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We're just
we got a
we're
very
2 months away. Okay. I was also happy, excited that he gave us the answer, one of the biggest answers I was looking for, unsupervised for you and me by the end of the year, probably depending on the city, but in most cities by the end of the year, unsupervised. Now that could be huge.
probably not for me
Probably not for you. I thought Florida was
because
one of those states where it was pretty open. They're ready to go, blah, blah, blah.
I think the problem here would be insurance.
Oh,
So we don't have Tesla insurance here.
oh, you don't have to at all yet. Oh,
Nope. So I think that'd be the problem. I think they would only be able to do it in states where they have Tesla insurance,
oh,
unless somehow they do,
somehow.
somehow they can structure a policy where, hey, if
Let's
you
see.
have engaged,
Right,
it's on us.
right.
But then I don't know how that works with the insurance company.
Yeah, yeah. I think they could do that because
Kind of like renters insurance, where it's like,
right. You've got
it,
half and I got half. The renter has half.
yeah,
The owner, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They could probably do something like that. But anyway, but I thought that was a big piece of information because once they have unsupervised, um, that's gonna sell cars.
Again, we'll see. We'll see. They have to execute. I'm
Well, you can't use that for every answer. They're going to execute on something
well.
that's going to happen. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Did you know that their ultimate theory is a battery with no anode?
what? No, I missed that part.
You missed that. They said the dream of the lithium battery industry is to have no anode at all. The best part is no part. And so they're actually hoping eventually to get to a battery with no anode at all.
That makes no sense to me. But
I have no idea. I'm not enough of a chemist or a physicist or whatever to be able to tell you how that would work, but that's what he said.
I would have to listen to that again because that makes zero sense to me.
Anyway, so he was talking about the fact that they are vertical, vertical, vertical with the batteries, from the lithium, refining, cathode, anode, etc. Talked about the fact that they are still having difficulty with the anode, and then that they have a goal of no anode at all. So that was so there was a bunch of questions about batteries. I thought we got some of the answers, including the fact that they're not going to be battery constrained much longer, they think, and not on cars at all, but only on energy. What did you think about that part?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the no anode. Like, where would the electrons come from if there's no anode?
No, don't do science with me.
That
That's
makes
we'll get 𝐑𝐚𝐽𝐸 on here. I can't do the science part. It's
yeah,
not gonna be good.
literally like the anodes how we get the electrons.
I get you.
All right, sorry. Um,
Ask Rock. I don't know.
back to your question.
Yes. Battery, no shortage, no disruptions, no problems in terms of vehicle batteries. They got plenty of those. They don't see any issue. They're having issues with mega pack batteries, but they thought they had a directionality to solving that. And I'm assuming they only mean in the United States on that uh, problem of getting the batteries because of the China tariffs.
Yeah, I also like the way they talk, or I thought it was good that they had a plan that they shared with us. that China would handle the rest outside the U.S. And then so it seems like there won't be much of a disruption on that front. So that's good because if there was a bright spot in this entire earnings report, it was that. There was energy. I think it was what 29% margin. I think it was
Yeah.
growth of 4%. So that's great. Um, and that's I mean, man, imagine if we didn't have that. Uh, but yeah, I think the energy side, they're executing on that front. That's for sure.
They did. Most of the other people that I listened to were happy with the margins regulatory credits,
They maintained, I think, quarter over quarter.
roughly a little bit less, but a good.
Yeah,
Most people thought it was a good number given the ramp, et cetera. That was a good number.
yeah. I mean, yeah, lots of variables in that, but yes, that is true. That looked good, but again, the way I see it, it's we are either moving to a world of autonomy or we're not. And if we are, then I think we should be all in on that. At this point, we should be trying to get as many people using it so we can at least start showing revenue on that front.
Mhm.
If we are going that way, then we need to be making as many vehicles as we can. Honestly, do it break even just to get them out there. I don't really care so that we get more data, more people using it. Um, maybe even give FSD for free. Just get adoption. Um, but I think you need to do whatever you can for that future. I feel like I'm all in on it, and I wish I would see them head more towards that. So I don't know. I know I keep saying the same thing,
Yeah,
but
okay. Unboxed. They had a long discussion about Unboxed, and I thought the only thing I learned, other people could have maybe learned a lot, but because we're in it every day, the thing that they said that was new, at least everybody that I talked to last time about the unboxed 5 second rule, thought that that really meant they might have 5 lines, and between those 5 lines, they'd get, a 5 second average. But what he was saying is, no, it's going to be 5 seconds and it's going to be one line. And that
yeah,
the only thing that would keep them from doing it faster would be human speed.
faster would be human speed.
In other words, the human wouldn't be able to do whatever the human needed to do in order to make it faster than 5 seconds, and that you could put robots in the place of humans, and as the robots get faster and faster, they can even get it under 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that making the car takes 5 seconds.
No, of course not. No, it's
Yeah,
5 seconds
just
up the line.
yeah, off the line. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I again let's get the production line going and we'll see how that goes. I'll tell you what something else that I was kind of disappointed about, Randy, was that there's not going to be a use of the cyber cabs at the launch, just the Model Ys.
Oh,
Um,
there'll be none. Yeah,
I thought it was a little disappointing.
yeah, a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It sounded like they might sprinkle them in because they were going to
Did
start
it?
making some. Well, didn't he say they would start making, actually producing some, small amount of
To to test the line.
test the line by the end of June or something?
Yeah, yeah, but that was to test the line, not necessarily for production or to put into use.
Oh, no, I understand. Well, yeah, I don't think he probably never did make that connection, whether they would put
Yeah.
them in use, but why not?
Well, I think you're I don't know. You remember like Giga Berlin had a whole bunch of Model Ys that they're making, but then they had to trash them
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I forget what the reason was or what,
Well,
but
because they weren't not registered. What would be the word? Certified. Uh, the government had to certify them before they could
yeah,
make them, and so they made them anyway and said, "Hey, German,
yeah,
we're not going to use these for sale." So therefore, it was okay for them to make them anyway. It seemed to me they finally
that
were
sounds about right actually.
I think they might have finally made a deal with Germany or something on those. I don't know. It was not that many.
Yeah.
But
Um,
if they made 20 or 40 on the line and they were, you know, good cars, they might put them out. But yeah, I agree with you. It'd be nice to get, even if it was 50 or 100 out there, just to start getting the visibility
I'll tell you something that I am excited about. I'm excited for the next earnings call
for the next.
because in the next earnings call, we should be able to talk about whatever this new or not new vehicle is.
Uh-huh.
We should be able to talk about how the robotaxi ramp is going. And so we'll actually be able to talk about things that have been executed. And we can talk about not we plan on or we intend to, but we have. This is where we are. This is what we see in these early testing, this early ramp, etc. So I think that'll be very promising.
Okay.
Because unlike a new factory or a mega pack factory or even just a vehicle ramp, with FSD right now and a robotaxi network or even this other vehicle, we can't see anything tangible to know that they're making progress.
Mhm.
So they're not necessarily telling us anything,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like everything they say is vague.
Right.
And we can't necessarily see or track, like we see, sure, cybercabs going around the factory, but that does not tell us anything data or quantifiable towards robotaxi launch.
Right.
So at least once the new vehicles are out, released, being printed, we'll know what they are, etc. And once we know that robotaxi has launched, now we can actually start. We have something to like sink our teeth into.
Mhm.
And we can say, there's 20. Hey, there's 30 all of a sudden this week. Hey, we heard about a good experience. Hey, we heard there's an issue over here with whatever. Like we'll be able to start to really feel it out for ourselves and have something to, I don't know, not latch onto, but something we can get data from.
You know what I
So I'm
just,
excited for that.
yeah, you know what? I just realized they didn't give us a date for the stockholders meeting.
Nope,
Usually they would have given that if it was going to be between now and the next one.
it has to be.
And it has to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
unless they file for, like, I think they technically can file like for an extension if there's like something tangible or meaningful. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm at the edge of my understanding, but
Okay. All right.
and what I just said might not be true too. Like, but I think they can file for an extension. But
All
even
right.
then, I think it has to be a certain amount of days after. Like, I don't know. There's rules. I knew them once.
Did you and I already talk about the idea that Elon should get into mining rare earths?
Uh, no, we
Well,
haven't, and I would say we shouldn't.
he's already got a nickel mine ready to go. He just hasn't started doing anything with it. He's got a refinery in South Texas. He's got all these metallurgy guys working for him. Seems to me that he'd be the perfect guy to start making the United States less dependent on China by mining and refining rare earths.
Refining, yes. Mining, no.
No, huh? No, no mining.
Mining is takes no expertise.
Oh,
All you have to do, in my opinion, is get rid of regulations, allow people to go. Refining takes a lot of expertise, and the money is really in the refining.
so that
But
but he could, but then maybe he should at least be telling these miners about the boring company, so they could probably get regulations faster if there was no surface damage. You're using the boring machines to do the mining.
um, yeah, I don't know if that's how that would work.
He's
I don't
talked
think.
about it at least once.
Yeah, yeah.
I am surprised that the boring company hasn't done more because there's been so much talk about like boring through hills or mountains down in I think down in Australia or someplace. and running things through these mountains. So it seems like there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah, I feel like the Boring Company is backlogged with
Oh,
projects.
I see. Okay. Yeah, could be. They also said they didn't see any brand damage problems, that they had more rides, test rides, etc.
A record number. Yeah, that was good. It's hard to know how much of that is at it because of China versus the States or Europe.
Right. They didn't break
But
it down.
China's definitely the bright spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. Then there's this. Any other thoughts about the meeting?
No, I again, like I'm obviously still optimistic on the company, and
Of
I'm
course.
obviously still all about the vision and all that.
Right.
Um, I just think it's time for execution. I think the next earnings call will be better. Maybe not on the numbers that much better. Um, so here's a bright spot. They still said that they expect a 60% growth over last year.
So did they? So this was a confusion for, I was listening to Rob do his analysis, and he was confused by what they said. What they said for sure was we have 3 million capacity. And what we're trying to do with the the less expensive vehicle is use up some of that capacity. And that when we have that working, we can get closer to that. But I don't think they ever said, therefore, we expect to hit some number this year.
I think they did.
You
It
did?
says here,
Okay.
uh, this approach will result in achieving less cost reductions than previously expected, but enables us to prudently grow our vehicle volumes in a more capex efficient manner during uncertain times. This should help us fully utilize our current expected maximum capacity of closer to 3 million vehicles, enabling more than 60% growth over 2024 production before investing in new manufacturing lines.
See, they never put a date on it. They don't say in 2025. They just say before we have to invest more money.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think personally, and this is what I said to Larry on Monday night, I think it depends on when Grok gets in the car and and really, seriously, when Grok gets in the car and when unsupervised gets in the car. Wherever they get unsupervised, if they get unsupervised in Los Angeles or San Francisco or Phoenix or Dallas or any of the top 11 or 12 markets in the United States, and then if you have Grok in your car or you have unsupervised in your car, you are going to tell all the same people again that you've already shown. You're going to say, "Hey, you need to come take a ride in my car now because I've got Grok in the car or I've got unsupervised." And it's just going to be that experience that's going to, I think, that will drive a lot of volume. So it kind of depends. If that happens in the fourth quarter, no, we might have trouble getting to that 1.8. We might. But if it happens in the third quarter, we might blow the socks off blow things up.
Do you think this other vehicle will be high volume, meaningful?
It's going to be the same ramp as a Model 3 or Y, I think.
Oh, it should
So
be faster, probably, right?
yeah, okay, roughly. Okay, so it's going to take. Okay, so what you're saying is technically 3 to 4 weeks after it starts, they could have production. Okay, yeah.
I mean, in my mind, if it's on the same lines, and it sounds like they already did a lot of the retrofit that they would have to,
right.
because there's a section in here that said, let me read it for you. I'm close. As guided, switchover production lines for the new Model Y resulted in several weeks of lost production. During the switchover, we also prepared our factories for the launch of new models later this year.
Right.
given economic uncertainties resulting from changing trade policy. More affordable options are as critical as ever. So if it's on the same factory line, if they've already prepared the factories, then I imagine whatever changes, whatever looks different or whatever will be subtle or not that crazy
Uh-huh.
or just fascia. So I would imagine that it can ramp pretty well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, that could really help.
Yeah.
We've already got the best sedan in the world. We've already got the uh, best-selling vehicle of any kind in the world, the Model Y. So bringing in that probably won't cannibalize it much.
I would love to see a hatchback.
I know. I'm not a hatchback lover. I can't stand the look of a hatchback, but I
Just
just think it's the right car.
the rest of the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Just for the rest of the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Indeed. All right. So talk to me because I wasn't being aware of what the president actually said today that got the market to go up another. What is it? How much has it gone over in the pre-market here? Another S&P up another 1.74%, almost back to the 10% correction level of 5,500. It's at 5,400. So what did the president say specifically?
Let's see. So President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he has no intention of firing Federal Reserve Jerome Powell.
Okay.
Uh, said none whatsoever, Trump said in the Oval Office when asked. He did not seek Powell's removal. He said he never did. Um,
That's,
and then also, let's see if it's in here. He said, I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of the idea of lower interest rates. The president added, this is perfect time to lower interest rates. So looks like Bessent's in his ear.
yeah.
And then the other thing that I think is what really moved it was this says, oh, wow, there's even more news. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so there's two things. So Trump just now,
Okay.
China tariffs will come down. They won't be as high as 145%, but they also won't be zero. I won't play hardball with China.
Oh,
So people are saying it looks like Bessent's saying we needed to bring down the tone with China might be working. And then the other thing I just saw, Justin, Trump to meet with Xi in early May.
oh, oh, okay. I'm surprised it's not up more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So, all right. So if the tariff situation is off the table, gets off the table, in other words, in the minds of the investor, gets off the table, that would pull us back to the 10% correction level, which is where we were on April 2nd, when the whole tariff thing got started. So what will it take to get us back to all-time high?
here we go. Hopium here. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready for this? All
Okay.
right. See, I can look at this. You got me into a good mood. All right. Let me paint you a picture. Early May. That's next week. Trump and Xi meet up. That's next week, right? I'm not crazy. Close enough. Trump and Xi meet. Things go well. Maybe there's no deal yet, but good progress is made enough to get headlines going. Great. Trump changes his tone towards Jerome Powell. JP and Bessent are constantly meeting. Jerome Powell cuts rates. Even if it's just a quarter basis point, it's a signal.
I'm the fifth, right? I think.
Then we also know Elon just said that he's going to be stepping away from Doge,
Right.
leaving it a little bit more. So the question is, with Elon taking a step away from Doge, with the tariff thing maybe being settled, or at least the worst of it's behind us,
Right.
and potential rate cuts happening, why wouldn't we be at all-time
Yeah.
highs?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
and at that same time, new vehicles from Tesla and robotaxi launch.
And the economy. Oh, and end of May is when we're supposed to get the budget passed as well with the new tax cuts. And
Now,
I just got an email from Trump today congratulating me on my no more taxes on my Social Security.
oh, nice. Nice. All you have to do is send him your social security number and he will make sure that you don't get taxed on it.
Well, I think he was projecting into the future that because of him, I'll have no more taxes on my Social Security.
Oh, that's actually sad. I bet you there's a lot of people getting scammed like that, saying, "Hey, if you want to avoid tax on your whatever, Trump, we need your social security number now."
Oh,
Like,
yikes.
yeah. Um, on the other hand, just to be actually honest here, if we start cutting rates, that
Uh-huh.
could be that could be because things aren't looking good.
Yeah,
Which,
I don't see anything. I just don't see anything. I
well,
keep
okay,
looking and hard and listening to all these other economists, and you've got maybe two economists that think there's going to be a recession, and they're the guys that are like, oh, it's going to be the end of the world. We're all going to be back to cooking our food over a fire in the middle of our teepee.
I don't think unless we're in a recession, unless we've been in a recession
Yeah,
for the last 2 years, which if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, kind of agree.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't think that things get worse as long as we start cutting rates.
Mhm.
But when I see the Atlanta Fed projecting negative 3.3%, when we see unemployment ticking up, when we see inflation continually come down, and the Fed is still overly tight,
Yeah.
and the stock market has had this big correction. It's like all these things, yet the Fed doesn't cut. But when the stock market is at all time high, when inflation was stagnant, that's when we cut rates.
What do we know about Powell?
Political.
Too cautious. Too
Yeah.
cautious. He's too late. He's
Yeah. That's yeah, I think that's the problem. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of interest rates, the bonds did come down today. They're down almost 4 basis points in the after hour or pre-market or whatever. They're down to 4.35 again. So that is, a very, very good sign. Oil prices unchanged at 64, but that's still too high. We need that to come back down. What do you think about gold? I said today, get out of gold. That's what I told everybody this morning. I said, not investment advice. It is over its skis. This run is it's all momentum. Time to get out.
Yeah,
It's down 68 right now.
I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little if everything we just said would pan out the way I just described it, I
Uh-huh.
think that'd be really good. That'd be optimistic. But
So if everything happened the way that you just described it, then gold would probably come down.
yes.
No. Yeah. And then there's always the Bitcoin, which is up 6,000 today to 93.3, up 7% today. So is it back to following Tesla now, or is this just what? I don't know. I can't. I'm giving up on figuring out Bitcoin.
Oof, that's a hard one. Um uh I think it's just kind of following the market is probably what's happening. I don't think there's much independence right now in the market. I think everything is kind of just working lock and step, whether it's Bitcoin, Nasdaq, S&P,
Yeah.
even Tesla. Like it's if you watch Tesla during the day and you watch the Nasdaq tick for tick, you want to know what Tesla stock's doing? Just look at Nasdaq.
For 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
It's a very long time for Tesla to be that much tick for tick.
So yeah, so I don't know. I think Bitcoin is doing just the same thing.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's a news driven market. It'll probably be news driven for at least another week while they still work on these tariffs. And then maybe next week we'll get back to caring about how many jobs we lost or gained.
Yeah. Well, and then when's the next Fed meeting?
Fifth, I think, fourth or fifth, something like that of May, early May.
I, there could be a cut.
There could.
What
There,
what do you think?
I I think maybe there was a deal because as much as they say that Powell hates Trump, I think that Bessent and Powell are buds. I mean, really buds. They have breakfast once a week. You know,
Yeah.
they're hanging. Okay. So I think Bessent was the intermediary, and I bet you there was a deal cut.
Um, well, it looks like hmm, what's the current rate at? Four
What?
two, 4.5? What's the current Fed fund rate?
4.25?
Yeah, 4.33. Yeah. Okay. So yes, there's actually a 95% chance of no cut.
95 right now, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, but that could change overnight. You've seen that before.
that's
With
true.
all this sweet talking by Trump. That tells me something happened. Something happened.
Yeah, it looks like there's a 58% chance in June though.
I see. Okay. But that's like
Yeah,
mid-June. It's a long time.
June 18th.
Yeah.
But hey, that still works into the
Your theory.
game
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah, yeah.
the optimistic game plan.
That's right. All right. So Tesla right now is sitting at 250 and 80 cents, which is kind of a technical level. Right around 250 is kind of a technical spot. Is it also, yeah, and it's also, well, it's not really a technical spot for the S&P because it's like 1% under that 10% pullback. But will this hold in the morning? Will we, with all this sweet talking, do we get an even bigger bounce, a continued rally in the morning?
Um, I think it's all, Trump has been doing a lot of post in the morning. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think you just have to wait to see what happens at the open. You know.
I just want to say it out loud. I may say this every day for a week. You don't like history, and I don't think that you've been negative or saying that I was not right about this, but I said, take a look at what Trump did in 1.0 with regard to tariffs, with regard to everything else. It was like, oh, I'm going to do all this. And then he backs off and he backs off and he backs off. And it's his style. So I've never been worried at all that he was not going to back off. It was just like, no, that's what he's going to do. He's going to back off. I even said at one point, I think about 10 days ago, I thought he would even call Xi if he had to. It's not an ego thing for him. He might have seen it as like a structural problem in his negotiation, but it wouldn't have been an ego thing. If necessary, he would have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, we need to stop this. Let's get together."
Yeah. Yeah. No, you've been saying that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's the truth. I think that's what happened. And now let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get back onto the VIX. We get the VIX down under 20. That'll be a real tell.
Yeah. Yeah. You're spot on there. I think. Let's see. What is it doing right now? Oh, why is it never updated over here? Tesla's down right now, or well, not down, but it's not as up. We're at 249 on Tesla, but
Your thing is slow or fast. I don't know which. I'm still at 250, 80. Maybe I'm fast or slow. Let's see if I can
where are
get
you
it.
looking?
I'm looking on CNBC.
Yeah, that stops at 7:59.
No, no, I'm looking at the after hours. Oh, it's after
It
5.
stops
Oh,
at 7:59.
after 5. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Need to go my Robin Hood now.
Uh,
Yeah, 249. Okay. Hey, I'm happy. I mean, like
all
I
right.
care. I'm not selling, I'm not buying, but I still can be thrilled with my team having a good score.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if this holds up tomorrow. Um,
What's the VIX? Oh, no, that's
you know,
right. Is there any after hours on the VIX?
I don't know
I
actually
don't
because I've
think
never
so.
like
I don't,
looked at it.
no, I don't think so. It stops it.
There sh- there
Here.
should be though because you've got S&P futures, so but I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I think the VIX stops trading with the regular market. Anyway, all right. So I found out last week that even when went over an hour, people still watched. In fact, we had one of our best. We had one of our best. I think we had maybe over 10,000 views, which is huge. So I guess going over an hour today is not going to hurt either. We hope.
Oh, here we go. I found it. Sorry.
Oh, you
Let's
found it?
see. Uh, yeah, because everything has futures, or most things have futures, and the futures market is really only closed 1 hour a day.
I see. Okay.
Um, oh, but this doesn't do me any good because I don't have anything to pin it to. Well, the VIX futures is down. So this says about 4%. So, but I don't know how that tracks to the actual VIX.
Okay. Well, if it's true, it would at least have it down in the 20s again. Because
Yeah, it
it
was
was just
down. Yeah,
barely over 30. What did it close at?
to 30, I think.
30? Okay, yeah.
I think so, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because especially as I look here, yeah, yeah. See, it's hard because I don't know what it pegs to. So, like, if you look at the Nasdaq right now,
Mhm.
Nasdaq probably trading at I don't know what would we close at? Um,
271. Well, 271 during regular trading.
Nasdaq
That was I'm sorry, 271. I'm all right.
16 16,300 is what
Yeah,
Nasdaq closed at.
yeah,
But
close.
like if you look at the futures,
Uh-huh.
futures trade at 18,688 right now. So that doesn't mean that's what
At
Nasdaq
18,000.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
futures are a whole different
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
instrument.
Okay. All right.
So
All right. Well, Nick, any closing words of wisdom now that I've encouraged you at the end of the day?
um just I think it's time to execute on Tesla. Um I wouldn't be too up or too low on any of this. Like we knew it was going to be a bad quarter as far as the numbers go. There were some bright spots. I do still kind of like your point, Randy. I do think that the new vehicles will be 3 and Y like, but I do think they will look different. I do think that you can call them new vehicles, but they'll probably have a lot of the same language as the 3 and Y.
Right.
And yeah, let's hope that we get Fed cuts. Let's hope Trump and Xi make a deal. Let's hope tomorrow's a green day. Let's hope that Elon stepping back also helps Tesla go up, and let's hope that we have smooth robotaxi rollout. Yeah.
That's right. All those things. All right. Nicholas Gibbs, thank you so much for coming on as you do typically on Tuesday. And for all of you out there, I don't think there's going to be a show at 7:45 tonight. Normal stuff tomorrow. And yeah, that's all I got for you. I think, Nick, it's been great. For all of you out there, great talking to you.
Cheers.